We now come to business questions, and I come to the shadow leader of the House, Jessie Norman.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Will the Leader of the House give us the forthcoming business?
Leader.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. The business for the week commencing 23rd of February will include Monday the 23rd of February, Committee of the Whole House and remaining stages of the Industry and Exports Financial Assistance Bill, followed by Committee of the Whole House and remaining stages of the Universal Credit Removal to Child Limit Bill. Tuesday the 24th of February, an opposition day in the name of the Liberal Democrats, subject to be announced, followed by a debate on a motion relating to the Charter for Budget Responsibility. Wednesday the 25th of February, a general debate on Ukraine. Thursday the 26th of February, a general debate on St David's Day and Welsh Affairs, followed by a general debate on government support for bereaved children. The subject for these debates was determined by the Backbench Business Committee. Friday the 27th of February, the House will not be sitting. The provisional business for the week beginning the 2nd of March includes Monday the 2nd of March, second reading of the Representation of the People's Bill. Tuesday the 3rd of March, my right honourable friend the Chancellor of the Exchequer will make a spring statement, followed by consideration of Lord's amendments. Wednesday the 4th of March, Estimates Day, fourth allotted day, and at 7 p.m. the House will be asked to agree all outstanding estimates. Thursday the 5th of March, Proceedings on the Supply and Appropriation, Anticipation and Adjustments No. 2 Bill, followed by a general debate on contributions of Commonwealth troops in the First World War, followed by a debate on a motion on the future of palliative care, the subject for these debates determined by the Backbench Business Committee, and on Friday the 6th of March the House will not be sitting. Madam Deputy Speaker, the House will no doubt be interested in recess dates going forward. Members may also wish to know that, subject to the progress of business and further to the dates that have already been announced, the House will rise for the summer recess at the close of business on Thursday the 16th of July 2026 and return on Tuesday the 1st of September 2026. The House will then rise for the conference recess at the close of business on Tuesday the 15th of September 2026 and return on Monday the 12th of October 2026. And the House will rise for the Christmas recess at the close of business on Thursday the 17th of December 2026 and return on Monday the 4th of January 2027.
Well, the 1st of September does clash with my birthday. We can discuss that later. Shadow Leader, Jessie Norman.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. And may I start by thanking the Leader of the House on behalf of all members, I'm sure, for giving us those recess dates, which will be very widely welcomed. Today is the birthday of Abraham Lincoln, perhaps the greatest of all US presidents, and so perhaps a fitting moment to talk a little bit about public service. May I start by congratulating the chaplain, the Reverend Mark Birch, on his new job at Westminster Abbey, and in welcoming his successor, the Venerable Andrew Hillier, as chaplain to the House of Commons. We thank them for their service. I also note, Madam Deputy Speaker, that the International Olympic Committee has banned a Ukrainian athlete from wearing a helmet of remembrance for his fellow athletes killed by Russia. Talk about public service. Madam Deputy Speaker, otherwise the news has once again been filled by a succession of the most appalling misjudgments by the Prime Minister. These include decisions by him to ignore both public evidence and private advice and appoint not one but two men with continuing connections to convicted paedophiles to the House of Lords. It's been confirmed today that the Prime Minister was aware that his nominee, Matthew Boyle, had campaigned for a man charged with distributing indecent images of children 2 months before the Prime Minister appointed him. The fallout from the Mandelson scandal so far has included the departures of the Prime Minister's Chief of Staff and his Head of Communications, one after 18 months, the other after just a few weeks in post. Now we have the leaked news that the Prime Minister's own personal choice of Cabinet Secretary is being forced to step down after barely a year in post. As they say at the BBC, deputy heads must roll. Of course, no government is free from scandal. Goodness knows, I can say that from personal experience. Certainly not the previous ones, as the House will know well. But let there be no deflection or fudge on this matter. There has not been anything to compare with this catalogue of personal misjudgments by a Prime Minister for perhaps 60 years. Every sitting day, the chaplain leads this House in prayer for public service, that we may, and I quote, as a House, never lead the nation wrongly through love of power, desire to please, or unworthy ideals, but lay aside all private interests and prejudice. Every member of this House knows those words. But that is precisely what these people have failed to do. That said, Madam Deputy Speaker, I hope I may end on a positive note with a truly uplifting story from this week. Some years ago, my constituents, Sam and Emily Stables, set up a brilliant charity called We Are Farming Minds in Herefordshire, dedicated to supporting farmers struggling with poor mental health. Sam's a sheep farmer himself, knows only too well from personal experience how immensely difficult, stressful and lonely life can be on a farm. Still more given all the recent troubles farmers have had to endure, including outbreaks of TB and other diseases, dysfunctional farm payment systems, increasingly burdensome regulations, and of course, most recently, the farm tax. On average, a farmer commits suicide every week in this country. But on Monday, Sam embarked on a walk of hope from Ross-on-Wye to London to support Yellow Wellies Mind Your Head Week and greater public awareness of mental health in the farming community. By my calculations, he's coming through the Chilterns right about now, Madam Deputy Speaker, heading for High Wycombe. With luck, I should find him this afternoon on the trail around Beaconsfield. Madam Deputy Speaker, this is what real public service looks like. Let's all take this opportunity to send our deep thanks to Sam and Emily and to their volunteers and supporters for the extraordinary work they do.
Leader.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. First of all, may I say that I'm sure that the thoughts of the whole House are with the two children stabbed in the horrific attack at Kingsbury High School in Brent. And my heart, and I'm sure the heart of the whole House, goes out to those affected by this tragedy. Also, I send my condolences to those affected by the horrific attack in Tumbler Ridge in Canada. And again, the thoughts of the whole House will be with the people of Tumbler Ridge as they mourn their families, friends and loved ones. And we wish all of those injured a speedy recovery. I join with the Shadow Leader of the House in welcoming to the House the Venerable Andrew Hillier, who has been appointed as the new Speaker's chaplain. And as he said, I want to thank the outgoing chaplain, the Reverend Mark Birch, for the support that he provided to everyone across the community, whether or not they were people of faith or not. I also want to mark this week as National Apprenticeship Week. Apprenticeships give young people real experience, real prospects, and a real route into good careers. And this government is committed to delivering 50,000 more apprentices for young people backed by the Skills and Growth Levy. And it is National Apprenticeship Week and therefore appropriate if I draw members' attention to the ambition set out in the Restoration and Renewal of the Palace of Westminster report, which was published last week, to support 1,000 apprenticeships and traineeships in addition to the thousands of full-time roles required to deliver the works. And I would encourage members, whatever their view, on the way forward for this for Parliament. I would encourage them, if they haven't already done so, to attend briefings by the R&R client team and to read the report in full. And finally, before I turn to the remarks of the Honourable Gentleman, Madam Deputy Speaker, can I wish all members and yourself an enjoyable recess. I hope that members get some time to spend with their families and with their constituents. And always remember that it's Pancake Day, so I wish them very well in that regard. Let me turn to the remarks of the Shadow Leader, and I very much join him in congratulating and wishing Sam Stables well, a very keen farming campaigner, and knowing the Honourable Gentleman's constituency, Sam will have needed his wellies whatever the colour, given the amount of water which has fallen in that particular area. I understand donations have come in from far and wide, including from the Prince of Wales. And I just want to say, in supporting Sam, that the government, I believe, is stepping up and playing their part. We are supporting farmers' access to specialist mental health services through funding of the Farmer Welfare Grant, and then more widely than that, doing all that we can to invest in sustainable farming. But I do wish Sam all the very best indeed. Let me now turn to the remarks of the honourable gentleman on the what has happened in the last couple of weeks. And let me do that without any deflection or fudge, as he says. First of all, Matthew Doyle has had the Labour whip withdrawn. The Labour Party has started an investigation, and it's right that we be allowed that takes place. With regard to the Cabinet Secretary, I'm not going to enter into a speculation about that, but we read what we read. And then let me turn to the wider issue of standards in public life, because I absolutely agree with them. There cannot be no prevarication on these matters. My honourable friend, the Chief Secretary to the Prime Minister, gave a statement to this House on Monday, setting out the action that we're taking. Since entering government, we've delivered on our manifesto promises to strengthen the role of the independent adviser and set up the Ethics and Integrity Commission. We're also publishing ministers' interests, gifts and hospitality, and more frequently. We're changing the process for relevant direct ministerial appointments, including politically appointed diplomatic roles. But we understand, Madam Deputy Speaker, that we need to go further. And we're working with the newly established Ethics and Integrity Commission to make sure that we do reach the highest possible standards in life. And let me just leave the House with this remark, Madam Deputy Speaker, because it has been a difficult time for us all, not least for the Prime Minister himself. I regard the Prime Minister as a man of integrity. I regard him as a man of public service. And when someone stands up and says that they got it wrong and that they regret what has happened, we should take that at face value, and we should redouble our efforts to make sure that going forward, public life and public standards are even higher than they currently are.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. This week is Heart Unions Week, hence the badge on my lapel instead of the Wolves badge that I normally wear. And last Saturday, I was with the Wolverhampton, Bilston and District Trade Union Council handing out information to passers-by in Wolverhampton City Centre about joining a trade union. Would the Leader of the House please join me in celebrating the vital work that our unions play in improving the lives of working people across the country, the work that they did with this government for us to deliver the biggest upgrade to workers' rights in a generation through the landmark Employment Rights Act? And does he agree with me that one of the best decisions our constituents can make is to join a trade union for that dignity and security in the workplace?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I certainly join my honourable friend in recognising the vital role that trade unions play in improving the lives of people across the country. The government has worked very closely with trade unions and with businesses to deliver the biggest upgrade to workers' rights in a generation through the landmark Employment Rights Act. The Act is a key pillar of the government's plan to make work pay, which will grow the economy, boost wages and reduce insecure work and improve people's lives.
Liberal Democrat spokesperson Bobby Dee.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. There's been a national debate raging on over the last few weeks that so far this place has been pretty silent on, and that is the matter of student loans. Now, I know what some on the opposite benches may be thinking, but I'm not prepared to duck difficult subjects. And let's face it, the system has changed beyond recognition since its introduction. And this is one of the key complaints of graduates. Maintenance grants have been scrapped in favour of loans. This means that the poorest students now arrive at universities with the largest debts. Interest rates have soared in recent years, tied to inflation, and after that period of high inflation, people have been saddled permanently with much larger debts than they otherwise expected, and thresholds have been repeatedly frozen, including by this Labour government at the last budget, which the IFS estimates will add on average around £3,000 to people's debt pile. Now, all of this means that the agreement that students struck has been repeatedly and unilaterally changed by the lender after the agreement, and I don't believe this would be tolerable in any other walk of life. And when the Chancellor was challenged on this last week, she said that the system is fair and reasonable. Now, I don't agree with that. I think many graduates don't agree with that. So I wonder if the Leader of the House can organise a debate in government time on the changes that have been made to the student loans repayment system.
Deputy Speaker, the UK is home to some of the world's most respected universities, and we all benefit from the opportunities, the knowledge and the growth that they create. And it is important that we pay attention to access to universities, ensure that people who want to go can go. But it's also important that we put the sector on a secure financial footing, which is why the government is making tough but fair decisions to find that balance between value for money for taxpayers and students and graduates. We know, Madam Deputy Speaker, that the cost of living is important for everyone. We are seeking to support graduates by protecting lower earners, by lifting the threshold this year. But we do appreciate concern, not least because it's been expressed through our inboxes probably as we speak. But I would encourage the Honourable Gentleman to attend the Westminster Hall debate on Wednesday the 25th of February, where he may want to make his points more fully.
Jermy.
Madam Deputy Speaker, I'm increasingly concerned about the quality of social care provision in Norfolk. We've had 3 care homes by 3 different providers in the last month alone, all rated as inadequate by the Care Quality Commission. And having read the inspection reports, they contain some harrowing details. Can I ask if we can have a debate in government time on the quality of social care provision?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I thank my honourable friend for raising an issue of such importance, and I'm genuinely sorry about the cases that he raises. We are committed to building a national care service based on a higher quality of care, greater choice and control. I will make sure that ministers have heard his concern, and if he wants to seek a meeting with ministers to brief them more fully on what is happening in his part of the world, then I will arrange that.
Chair of the Backbench Business Committee, Bob Blackman.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker, and I thank the leader in particular for mentioning the stabbing at Kingsbury High School. The good news is that the 2 children who were stabbed are in a stable condition, and the suspect has now been charged with multiple charges, including attempted murder. And the police investigation is clearly ongoing, and we can't comment on it any further. In addition, and I also would like to thank the Honourable Member for Edinburgh West for stepping into the breach when the previous debate that the Backbench Business Committee had allocated for Thursday the 26th of February was withdrawn. So I thank her for doing that at very short notice. As the leader has mentioned, Estimates Day debates come up on the 4th of March. We are open for business for applications by a week tomorrow. And obviously we'll then be deciding which debates will be allocated time. The business in Westminster Hall, when we return, on the 24th of February, there'll be a debate on government support for healthcare systems in Gaza. On Thursday, the 26th of February, a debate on eating disorders for the Awareness Week 2026, followed by a debate on the impact of VAT on independent faith schools. On the 3rd of March, there'll be a debate on strengthening community cohesion, and on the 5th of March, a debate on the importance of local museums, followed by a debate on World Book Day. Now, Madam Deputy Speaker, when we return on the 23rd of February, this will be the 3rd anniversary of the hunger strike by Vahid Beheshti outside the Foreign Commonwealth Office. He has had terrible privations as a result of this hunger strike, and no Foreign Office minister has even had the courtesy to visit him in either the previous government or the current government. Given the circumstances in Iran, with more than 30,000 civilians being murdered by the tyrannical regime, he has called for the prescription of the IRGC for the last 3 years. So could the Leader of the House arrange for a minister to at least meet Vahid so that he can convey his reasons for carrying out this hunger strike?
Madam Deputy Speaker, I'm grateful to the Honourable Gentleman as ever for his update and for the excellent work that his committee does, and it is good news that the young people affected in his constituency on a road to recovery. Of course, it's right that the police get on with their investigations, but I do hope that the law takes its course and that people are held to account. With regard to his constituent, it is indeed, I'm aware, the 3rd anniversary. And he knows that on the issue of the IRGC, we've already sanctioned over 550 organisations and individuals, including designations against the IRGC, and the Foreign Secretary has said that there will be full and further sanctions where required. We keep this under review. I also take into account what he has said about his constituent, and all I can say is that I will draw that to the attention of ministers, and I hope that they will have heard on that, and that's a decision for them.
Hinchliff.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. The disgraceful scandals of recent days have left what little remains of faith in our democracy hanging by a thread. One of the lessons has to be that while inherited privilege is no basis for a second chamber, neither is self-interested patronage by political leaders. Does the leader agree with me that we must end the rotten system of peerages being granted to individuals despite sickening behaviour simply because they are rich and powerful, or to give jobs to the boys? And will he convey to his cabinet colleagues the urgent need for legislation to reform the House of Lords from top to bottom, sweep away these abuses and rid us of all these politically partisan appointees?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. My honourable friend will be aware that the government has already taken action and some aspects of reform of the Lords, but he's not really talking about the Lords and the work that they do per se. It's about the people who are who enter that place, and the government has, Prime Minister has confirmed that we will be bringing forward legislation to ensure that peerages, for example, can be removed from disgraced peers, and we are looking at what other further action can be taken to improve standards in public life. In terms of the wider reform of the House of Lords, the government is committed to doing so. But as I've said before, when we've tried this previously, there has been no consensus. And there are many other priorities that the government needs to get on with. Whilst not forgetting about Lords reform, we've got to ensure all the other things that government needs to do, not least in the next session which confronts us.
Lamont.
Thank you very much. The Scottish Government's Fire and Rescue Service has been reviewing the future of Hoyks Fire Station. Like thousands of local residents, I've signed the petition calling it for it to be retained as a 24/7 service, but it's been announced that the decision is going to be delayed for 6 months. So does the Leader agree with me that the delaying this decision until after the Scottish Parliament election looks like to be politically motivated, and that local residents should know what the SNP have planned for their fire station before they vote?
Madam Deputy Speaker, for the honourable gentleman bringing this important matter to the House. I know from experience, I'm sure others do, just how important fire services and cover is for a matter for our constituents. As he points out, it is a devolved matter, and as I've said before, this government has provided the Scottish Government with the biggest funding settlement since devolution began, and therefore they should be taking that into account. I hope that those responsible in the Scottish Government have heard the honourable gentleman's contribution today, because first and foremost they should be listening to residents.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Roker Park is loved by our community, where there's loads going on, from bowls, model boating and a miniature railway. Recently, I met with some of the volunteers who keep the park so vibrant, along with Councillor David Newey, who's attracted investment for the restoration of the bandstand and the installation of new play equipment before the summer. So will the Leader of the House pop down the coast from his constituency to join me for a coffee at Rua in the park? And would he consider a debate on the contribution that groups like the Friends of Roker Park make across the country?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. It's a very tempting offer, I have to say. It is a tempting offer. And I thank my honourable friend for raising the fantastic work being done by volunteers and by Councillor David Newey at Roker Park. Their work is vital, and he has played a fantastic role in revitalising his community, a great example of what a good councillor is. And as I've said before, Madam Deputy Speaker, volunteers are the golden thread that run through our communities and hold them together. So I praise the work that the councillors do, but also my honourable friend does in his constituency, because he's a great advocate for them.
Sir John Hayes.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. You and the Leader of the House will be aware that all those who serve on the Treasury bench are ministers of the Crown. And for that reason, time immemorial, the government has been described as HM government, His Majesty's government. And yet we learn that that's changed, that this administration has decided to drop HM government to be replaced by a UK government. I don't know if that's to pander to foreigners who don't understand our constitution, or more likely, or more likely to the doubt-fueled, guilt-ridden bourgeois liberals who fill too much of our establishment. But I actually believe, and I think the House as a whole probably agrees, that our traditions matter because they underpin our shared sense of belonging. Madam Deputy Speaker, this was done without consultation, without reference to the House, and without discussion. So will the Leader ensure that at very least a statement, and better still a debate is held on why this change happened under the radar?
Deputy Speaker, I agree with the honourable gentleman in many regards. The tradition does matter, but so does accuracy. To provide for clarity, Madam Deputy Speaker, public communication teams are advised to use UK government rather than departmental names and logos for announcements. This does not affect the use of the term His Majesty's Government, which continues on all relevant official communications and records, and so it should. The UK Government term has long been used for government in public-facing communications.
Justin Matters.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. The £20 million the government is investing in Ellesmere Port is so welcome, but it's undermined by news like we had yesterday that Halifax is closing its branch in our town centre. One of the justifications they use is that their customers are now using the app. Well, I'm a customer of Halifax, I use the app, but the reason I'm a customer of Halifax is because they have a presence in our town centre. And this is just another example of the smoke and mirrors banks are using to justify wholesale branch closures, and never mind the care and attention they should be paying to those who aren't able to bank electronically. So can we have a debate, please, about what more we can do to make sure actually banks serve those communities that they're supposed to?
Madam Deputy Speaker, this is an issue which often arises, and I understand the concern of residents. I too use a bank app. Other people do not do that, and they look towards a presence on the high street, not just from the point of view of convenient banking, but the importance of our high streets. I would encourage my honourable friend to seek a debate on this matter, perhaps in Westminster Hall, because I'm sure he will find others who will want to join with him in that. The government, for its part, has looked to 350 banking hubs. Most of them are already rolled out. That is not the extent of our ambition. However, we want to go further, and I know from the one in my constituency in Whitley Bay, they are very, very popular.
Afra Brandreth.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. With World Book Day coming up on Thursday, the 5th of March, I've launched a short story competition for primary school pupils across Chester South and Eddisbury, encouraging them to go all in and use their imagination through reading and creative writing. At a time when children are spending more and more time on phones and screens, fostering a love of books, storytelling and creativity is more important than ever. So will the Leader of the House join me in encouraging children across Chester South and Eddisbury to take part in this competition, and for everyone to get involved in celebrating World Book Day?
Thank you, Madam Deputy. I certainly would join the Honourable Lady on celebrating World Book Day, and commend her on the approach that she is taking in her constituency. It's vital that children, in my view, get access to books, which is why we are promoting libraries. Particularly in schools. But also, of course, you will be aware that we are launching a consultation on social media, and I'm sure this will be one of the factors that will be taken into consideration, the amount of time that children spend on social media on their phones rather than having a good book in their hands.
Owen.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I think we can all agree that small businesses are the heart of our communities and the backbone of our economy. That's why I do a shout out to a small business in Luton North every single Saturday. It's also why I'm launching my small business forum next week, so that we can bring small businesses together, such as Steve Hilliard Hairdressing, Bright Light CVs and Oakley Studios. Will the Leader of the House therefore set time aside to discuss the issues my small business community raised with me at the forum, and ensure we support this amazing group of entrepreneurs?
Deputy Speaker, I certainly thank my honourable friend for raising this important matter, because small businesses are the beating heart of the economy, and we are committed to supporting them and our high streets, which is why we've launched our small business plan. But I commend her on the approach that she is taking, not least to highlight the excellent businesses in her constituency. Should she seek a debate in perhaps Westminster Hall, then again I'm sure others will join her in order to celebrate businesses in their own constituency.
Susan Murray.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Retired civil servants in my constituency of Midland Bartonshire and across the UK are being offered interest-free loans after serious delays to pension payments following the transfer of their pension scheme administration to Capita in December 2025. Will the Leader of the House grant time for a debate on the administration of the civil service pension scheme, including the impact of the MacLeod judgment and the current backlog?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. These delays are unacceptable, and the Government has made that very clear. These are people who have given public service, and it is a matter of urgency to resolve this situation for them. Before Capita took on the administration of the scheme, both Cabinet Office ministers and officials were assured that there would be a very clear transition plan in place ahead of going live. There have been a number of challenges. The Cabinet Office is working hard to resolve the situation. There is an expert recovery team to work with Capita, but I will ensure that ministers have heard her comments here today and, if appropriate, bring forward an update on the situation.
Rachel Taylor.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Gurdwara Baba Vadbag Singh Ji and the BVS charity in my constituency has been serving their community in Exhall with compassion for years. Their Christmas hampers provide food and essentials to families who may be struggling at Christmas, and their Father's Day event draws hundreds of people from around the local area to their family celebrations with free food and fairground rides. I'm incredibly grateful for the warm hospitality they have extended to our community, and therefore I would ask if this House could make time for a debate on the wonderful contribution of the Sikh community to North Warwickshire and Bedworth and to our country.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. My honourable friend is absolutely right to champion the Sikh community. The Christmas Hamper programme represents a bright example of their valuable contribution to our communities. She is right to raise this example here today, and I'm sure she will go on looking for further opportunities to do so.
Charlie Dewhurst.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Now, in response to a question from my right honourable friend, the member for South Holland and the Deepings just now, the Leader of the House seemed to suggest that the Government is not undergoing a rebrand from His Majesty's Government to the UK Government. Yet, in response to a written question to my friend from Kings Winford and South Staffordshire, the Cabinet Office Minister clearly states a strategic decision has been made to adopt UK Government as the primary identity for all public-facing communication. This is a clear slight on the monarch. So can I ask once again, can we have a debate on the floor of the House to discuss the Government's decision to downgrade the King?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I'm not sure whether the honourable gentleman didn't hear what I just said before, or whether he'd already written the question before I got up to do so. Look, we can fence around with words, rebrand, whatever. The situation is that it has always been the case that His Majesty's Government, or Her Majesty's Government as was, is used on official documents. It is always the case as well that there is an outward-looking version. I've explained why that case has been made, and were the situation as he has described it, we would all be right to get upset about it, but it simply isn't.
Barry Gardner.
Speaker, can I begin by thanking my right honourable friend for his remarks about Kingsbury School, which for 27 years was in my constituency before it passed over to the member of Harrow East. But I wanted to raise with him the Schedule 17 of the Environment Act 2021, which has still not been implemented. It introduced a mandatory due diligence obligation for businesses to ensure that they don't use illegally produced forest risk commodities. And we are now 5 years on from the Act. It hasn't been introduced. My honourable friend has made very good suggestions previously that I hold a debate, that I write to the Minister written questions. I've done both of those. So please, can we have a debate in government time about why this has not yet been done?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I'm sorry my honourable friend is frustrated, not least because if I gave him that advice and it hasn't come to anything, I apologise. However, I think because this is, from my perspective, a reasonably technical thing, and therefore I will arrange for a meeting with ministers where he can vent his frustration directly.
Martin Vickers.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. The chemical industry sector is particularly important to the local economy in my northern Lincolnshire constituency and the wider Humber region, and indeed, as the leader will appreciate, in the North East. The Chemical Industries Association recently produced a report which showed that in the last quarter of 2025, jobs had reduced by 38%. This is clearly very worrying. So could the leader give government time for a debate on the future of the chemical industry sector?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I'll go further than that, Madam Deputy Speaker, and offer the honourable gentleman the chance to speak to the relevant minister directly about this, because I always share concerns where there are job losses as industries come under pressure and face new challenges. So if you seek a meeting, I'll ensure you get one.
Baxter.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. On Saturday evening, I joined over 500 members of our local community at Paisley Town Hall for a spectacular evening of Gaelic music, song and celebration as we celebrated 10 years of Feish Faslig. The Feish provides a fun and welcoming space for young people across our area to learn and share Scotland's Gaelic cultural traditions. So would the Leader of the House join me in congratulating the Director, Grant McFarlane, and the Board of Volunteers for their commitment to our cultural traditions, and wish them a very happy 10th birthday to Feish Faslig.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Absolutely, John, my honourable friend, in congratulating Grant McFarlane and everyone else involved in Feish Faslig, if I've pronounced that correctly. It's easy for you to say. As I have said before, volunteers are the golden thread that run through our communities, and we celebrate them and great Gaelic traditions. Thank you.
Claire Young.
Madam Deputy Speaker, when the government announced the local authority bus grant allocations, the use of the money was subject to conditions, in particular around social need, and the criteria were to follow. In the absence of these, the West of England Combined Authority has extended contracts only until July, leaving my Thornbury and Yate constituents fearing what will happen then. So can the Leader of the House ask his transport colleagues to publish the criteria as soon as possible, or to come to the House to explain the delay?
Yes, I can, Madam Deputy Speaker.
Tracy Gilbert.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Over the last week, I've been contacted by many constituents in Western Harbour and my Edinburgh North and Leith constituency who have been left in limbo by the lack of cladding redemption programmes in Scotland. Across England, redemption programmes have completed over 1,935 buildings. In Scotland, only 2 have started. Does the Leader of the House agree with me that my constituents are being failed by the SNP in action? And will he make arrangements for a written statement on the funding and joint government work that has been undertaken in this area?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I thank my honourable friend for raising this issue on behalf of her constituents. This is an issue that cuts across borders, even though it is a devolved matter. As my honourable friend has pointed out, we have made great progress on this, investing £5.1 billion to remove unsafe cladding. But again, we have given the Scottish Government a record funding settlement, and I agree with her that they should make best use of it.
Thomas.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Heritage buildings are much loved by many members of the community. They underpin our identity. Indeed, many of them are places of worship, including the fantastic St John's Church in Bromsgrove that has just had a £500,000 renovation of its spire. Will the Leader of the House join me in congratulating the Friends of St John's, particularly Joe Slade, who was a driving force behind this project, and will he press his colleagues in government, particularly in the Treasury, to ensure that government always does everything it can to maximise support for these very important buildings that are much loved?
Thank you very much indeed. I certainly join with him in congratulating the Friends of St John's in his constituency, as in many of our constituencies. They do an absolutely fantastic job. And I thank him for the way that he phrased the second part of his question, because he's right, the government does want to support heritage and culture and places of religious worship, but he will know that economic times, the finances of the government are tight. But I will draw to the attention of the Treasury what the honourable gentleman has said.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Rising employment contributions to the Teachers' Pension Scheme are mounting significant pressures on post-1992 universities. Increased TPS contributions are driving universities to cut costs to deliver the same teaching. I've been contacted by staff at Northumbria University who are concerned about the proposed changes to their pay and pension provision. So will the Leader of the House relay my concerns to the Minister for Skills and urge her to update Parliament on what substantive steps the Government will take to address this issue?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. My honourable friend and neighbour is raising an important matter, and I'll certainly ensure that her concerns are shared with the relevant Minister. And should she wish a meeting with that Minister, I not only will be happy to facilitate that, but because we share this issue as neighbours, I'd be happy to come with her.
Andrew Rosendale.
Madam Deputy Speaker, further to the question put by my right honourable friend, the member for South Holland and the Deepings, I know that the Leader of the House will fully appreciate that he is a member of His Majesty's government. Yet in 2022, guidance issued under the last Conservative administration established the form UK government as an official corporate identity and a commonplace government term. But he will know that any government, including the current one, serves at His Majesty's pleasure. The Prime Minister does not serve a corporate construct, but rather the Crown, the embodiment of our nation and her people. So, will the Leader make time for a debate on the floor of the House regarding the need to reinstate an understanding of and deference to our constitutional heritage, that being His Majesty's government and the King in Parliament?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I don't think there's a need for such a debate, Madam Deputy Speaker, because I am still a member of. I'm hesitating here. I'm still a member of His Majesty's government, as ministers are members of His Majesty's government. But that doesn't mean that for outward-looking communication purposes, that UK government is an appropriate term. I generally don't understand why this is such a difficult concept. But I'll certainly bear his comments in mind. But just let me say, Madam Deputy Speaker, while we are here, I certainly commend the honourable gentleman for following his new leader's advice on not working from home. It's a shame that many of his colleagues don't do the same. We rarely see them. But he is an assiduous attender on these sessions, and I thank him for that. I would have described him as a flag bearer for reform, but I know how excited he gets about flags.
The whip on duty has confirmed that the Leader is still the Leader. Sarah Edwards.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. South Staffordshire Water is forcing water meters across homes in my constituency, stating that it is necessary for sustainability. But residents were never properly informed, and some only discovering the meters after they were installed. So my constituents and I find this unacceptable. So can I ask the Leader if there can be a statement on the communication standards that utility companies must meet when imposing such programmes?
Madam Deputy Speaker, and I thank the honourable friend for raising this matter, because residents should be informed in advance about changes made to their homes. I will ensure, should she seek one, that she gets a meeting with the relevant minister to make her case more fully.
Dr. Luke Evans.
Could I ask the Leader for his help? I've recently learned that the £10 million day case unit in Hinckley is potentially in jeopardy and might get cancelled. Now, this is after a series of delays by the NHS and the local council, and unbelievably, a last-minute plea by the Lib Dem Borough Council leader to look again at the project, which led to further delays. But the planning application did go through, but costs have gone up. Inevitably, use has now changed, and it's in real peril. I've already written to the Health Secretary about this as a matter of urgency. Could I ask his office to chase that up as well, so this gets looked at, so hopefully we can keep it going?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. And I thank the honourable gentleman for raising this important matter. I know I've described him before as an assiduous campaigner for his constituency. I hope that doesn't do him too much damage, my describing him in that way. But he is. And I understand he's written to the Health Secretary about this, and I will make sure that he gets an urgent response.
Julie Minns.
Madam Deputy Speaker, last
last week, the east window of Carlisle Cathedral was voted the nation's favourite stained glass window. Yeah. So, can I invite the Leader of the House to join me in congratulating John de Solcol, who in 1359 donated 40 shillings to make a window anew in the chancel of Carlisle Cathedral, Ivo de Rafton, whose work this funded, and the Hardman Company of Birmingham, who were commissioned in the 18th century to refill the lower panes to create the window we see today. And will you also join me in thanking the Association of English Cathedrals for organising this wonderful competition?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I absolutely join my honourable friend in congratulating all those who worked to create the east window of Carlisle Cathedral. I understand it's not just one of the earliest, but one of the few surviving from that period. Their contribution genuinely made history, and it's important that we remember them. I also join her in thanking the Association of English Cathedrals for their vital work, and as she rightly points out, places of worship provide vital services to our local communities.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. The town of Huntingdon in my constituency has a rich cultural and historical heritage. It is the birthplace of Oliver Cromwell, also one of my predecessors in this House. It is the former home of the diarist Samuel Pepys. It is the first place in the UK that chocolate ice cream appeared on these shores. And it is also the birthplace of the sandwich, something very close to my heart. As such, because of this cultural heritage, we are putting forward the town of Huntingdon to be the town of culture in 2028. And I'd like to thank and congratulate Paul Sweeney and the bid team in Huntingdon for their hard work in putting this forward, not only just to celebrate our cultural heritage, but also to build a legacy going forwards. Would the Leader of the House join me in championing Huntingdon as the very best opportunity for Huntingdonshire to cement a town of culture for 2028?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. First, let me say that I'm a huge admirer of Oliver Cromwell, and therefore, I am actually, and therefore, the list of achievements for his area considerable, not least the birthplace of Oliver Cromwell. He invites me down a path, however, of town of culture. Which might go down well in his area, but I can assure you in North Shields will go down terribly badly, because I am assured that we intend to mount our own. But I do wish every town, seriously, I do wish every town well, and I commend the government actually for bringing forward this initiative, and I wish everyone well, because it can help to transform the towns that are the backbone of this country.
Mayor Ellis.
Madam Deputy Speaker, 2 years ago, Butler's Farmhouse Cheese in my constituency, makers of the famous Blacksticks Blue, suffered a devastating fire, destroying all their storage facilities. The community rallied around them, with local businesses and farms helping to erect temporary buildings and provide interim logistics, and following some truly brave leadership, Jill, Matthew and Daniel Hall and their family this week celebrated the completion of their brand new extended building, which was opened by King Charles himself. Would the Leader join me in congratulating all at Butler's Farmhouse Cheese on their determination and resolve, and would he consider a debate on how critical the communities around us are in times of resilience and great need?
Thank you very much indeed, Madam Deputy Speaker. My honourable friend is a true champion in her tireless efforts to support the local community and to praise them for coming together in support of Butler's Farmhouse Cheese, a great cheese, I have to say, in my view. But indeed, following such devastating events, we realise then the true need for resilience in our local communities. So I'd encourage my honourable friend to apply for a debate on how we can promote not just resilience, but that true sense of community across our country.
Andrew George.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. As an enthusiast for Oliver Cromwell, will the Leader of the House find time for a debate on the purpose and function of the other place? I'm sure that he will have studied very closely the wording of the motion in my name on the order paper on EDM 2709, which addresses that of the role of the House of Lords, and he'll be aware of some members in that other place abusing the privilege and procedures of that House in order to frustrate and block a private member's bill which has the strong support of this House, and thus advancing the case for their own abolition and replacement. So would he ensure that we have time to scrutinise, to ensure that the House is there purely to scrutinise and revise, and not to block and frustrate this the primary and democratic chamber.
Speaker, as I've said from this dispatch box before, the House of Lords needs to be very much aware that on the assisted dying bill, which is the bill I assume that he's referring to, that they should respect the view that this House has not just once but twice supported that bill, both at second reading and indeed at third reading, and they should certainly bear that in mind. I don't happen to be of the view that, however, their scrutiny is not important, but I think the way that they go about it is important. And if there's a warning behind what the honourable gentleman says about be careful what you wish for, if they go down that route and it opens up a wider debate at the House of Lords, then I think that is what they would need to take seriously. But I commend him and others for continuing to raise these matters. As I've said before, it's not a government bill. If that bill comes back, I will find time to see how we can progress that. But it is a timely warning to their lordships that they need to get on with it.
Chris Murray.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Craigmillar is a brilliant area, but it is blighted by fly tipping. One site just off the High Street beside Craigmillar Library, owned by Key Workers Living Limited, lies waste to litter, abandoned cars and is a fly tipping hotspot. In England, the Labour government is cracking down on fly tipping, but in Scotland, the SNP Scottish Government has cut the budget for Edinburgh City Council so much that it is the lowest funded per head local authority in Scotland. Can we have a debate in government time about how we tackle fly tipping in Craigmillar and get the Scottish Government to fund our council properly?
Hear, hear.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. He raises an important matter. Fly tipping is a blight on our communities. We are giving councils powers to crush vehicles of suspected fly tippers and bringing in new prison sentences of up to 5 years for those who are transporting waste illegally. The Scottish Government has been given the biggest funding settlement since devolution. I suggest that they take the matters that my honourable friend raises more seriously.
Anne Davies.
Diolch yn fawr, Madam Dirprwy Llefarydd. Enzo Romano is a talented young footballer and also has already played for the Welsh youth team when he could have chosen Italy or Spain, but he's chosen Wales, boys, let me tell you. But despite his birth certificate proving that he was born in Cardiff and his British citizenship application has been refused for the second time, without it, of course, he cannot further his football career and play in the World Cup. So will the Leader of the House grant a debate to ensure the Home Office cannot unfairly hold back talent like Enzo and others, I'm sure, across the UK who just want to play football for the country that he was born in and he obviously loves?
Deputy Speaker, I genuinely welcome the wish the young man well. Before we get to a debate, should the Honourable Lady raise with me the details of this case, I will take it up with the appropriate department and see if we can get some progress.
Absana Begum.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. In September last year, I hosted survivors and victims of the so-called gossip website tattle.life, and we heard absolutely harrowing testimonies of those who have been targeted by sustained and escalating online harassment, stalking and abuse by its users, with many being driven to feel suicidal. And there's been extensive coverage of this on the broadcast media, Good Morning Britain and ITV's Lorraine. I raise this because on Sunday, 16-year-old Pryn Dixon died by suicide after facing escalating and intensifying harassment on this dangerous website. Many colleagues and I have called on Ofcom to listen to our concerns and to take down this website. On Monday, we wrote to them again, and 4 days on from Pryn's suicide, this website is still live and is now discussing her suicide along with abusing her bereaved mum. Can the Leader of the House ensure that there is an urgent intervention on this by DCIT to ensure that Ofcom uses all its powers to take down this site and to prevent any further tragedy? And can he ensure that there is time provided to debate the Online Safety Act and the failures to safeguard women and children online?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. What my honourable friend describes is entirely unacceptable, and I will draw to the attention, though I think the department will have heard her concerns, the department which deals with Ofcom, because there is it appears to me, an urgency in these matters. On the wider issue, of course, with regard to the safety of children, the government is announcing a consultation on social media, when I hope that my honourable friend will be able to raise some of her concerns during that consultation.
Jim Shannon.
Speaker, and what there is a matter about freedom of religion and belief in Turkey. The European Court of Human Rights has recently decided to jointly communicate 20 cases concerning the expulsion of foreign Christian missionaries and religious workers from Turkey. These cases, I believe, raise significant questions about the due process and the protection of freedom of religion or belief under the European Convention on Human Rights. So will the Leader of the House, he always does, and I thank him for it, ask a Foreign Secretary to set out what discussions government has had with counterparts in Turkey and within the Council of Europe regarding the protection of religious minorities, and what steps are being taken to uphold freedom of religion or belief across Council of Europe member states. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. The Government maintains a regular dialogue with Turkey, a key NATO ally and a strategic partner. And the UK calls on Turkey, as a founding member of the Council of Europe, to uphold the rights of all religious groups as enshrined within the Turkish constitution. So I will draw the Foreign Secretary's attention to the remarks of the honourable gentleman, and shortly after we return in Foreign Office questions, he may wish to raise those matters directly himself.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I recently attended an event at Oakwood Primary School in my constituency, where pupils took part in workshops facilitated by the Children's Parliament and Save the Children, exploring the impact of poverty. I was so moved by the children that day, who recognised that too many of their peers are grown up in hardship, concerned about basic needs such as food and housing. Would the Leader of the House join me in commending the pupils of Oakwood School for their thoughtful contributions and reaffirm this Government's commitment to tackling poverty?
Madam Deputy Speaker, absolutely join my honourable friend in commending the pupils and indeed the staff of Oakwood Primary School for their thoughtful contributions. The Government is committed to tackling child poverty, which is why we're scrapping the 2-child limit, and we're expanding free school meals and breakfast clubs, and we will do even more. But the empathy of these students is truly commendable, and I thank them for everything that they're doing.
Emma Foodie.
Speaker, I've been supporting a local leaseholder who lives in a bungalow in Cramlington, because Shenstone, the management company, have recently charged her £525 for a property extension. Nothing unusual, you might think, except it was built 30 years ago before she even lived in the property. It's been pointed out to Shenstone, and they are still insisting that my elderly resident pay up. Can the Leader assure me that this Government will continue at pace with the changes to address these outrageous practices? And does he agree that this sort of behaviour by companies like Shenstone are exactly why we need to tackle the leasehold crisis?
Madam Deputy Speaker, I absolutely agree, and I'm sorry to hear of the case that my honourable friend raises. Our draft Common Hold and Leasehold Reform Bill will end the feudal leasehold system, and we are committed to strengthening protection for leaseholders. The measures we brought forward are not the final steps that we intend to take regarding the regulation of managing agents, and we will set out further details in due course.
Hancock.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Colchester community champion Peter Dutch is campaigning to install bleed kits in schools to help tackle the scourge of knife crime, and this week's terrible incident at Kingsbury School underlines the absolute importance of that. Will the Leader of the House support my call for a debate about bleed kits in school as part of our mission to keep our young people safe?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I thank my honourable friend for bringing to the House such an important topic, and thank Peter Dutch for his campaigning. As she points out, first aid does indeed save lives, and I'll make sure that the Education Secretary has heard her contribution today. Should my honourable friend seek a debate, perhaps in Westminster Hall, then I'm sure her concerns will be echoed across this House.
Phil Brickle.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Local journalism is the lifeblood of our democracy, but the defamation laws in this country make it difficult for investigative media outfits like the Londoner, the Manchester Mill and their parent company, Mill Media, to speak truth to power. Now, the government's own anti-corruption strategy recognises this threat to free speech and outlines comprehensively tackling all strategic lawsuits against public participation as a priority commitment, but sets 2029 as the target date for action. So will the Leader of the House support my calls for a statement from the Ministry of Justice outlining what steps the Department is taking now to address slaps?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. My honourable friend raises an important matter, and I do understand the frustration in his voice, not least because he has raised relevant cases in this area before, as have other members. The Government does recognise the profound financial and psychological impact of slaps on individuals, and we are considering all options for reform to ensure that all types of slaps are addressed comprehensively, and I will make sure that my honourable friend gets a response from the Secretary of State for Justice.
Kirkham.
Madam Deputy Speaker, I have several constituents, including victims of violence against women and girls, who have been waiting a year or more for Devon and Cornwall Police to respond to their complaints. Will the Leader facilitate a meeting with the Policing Minister for me to discuss the capacity of Devon and Cornwall Police to respond to complaints, and whether he'll allow a debate in government time on the handling of police complaints?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker, and I thank my honourable friend for her question. Delays in responding to complaints are very frustrating for the public and MPs who want to be able to help their constituents. And as we set out in our Police Reform White Paper, we will work with the Independent Office for Police Conduct to improve the police complaints and misconduct system, but I will facilitate a meeting with the Police Minister as my honourable friend requests.
Christine Sullivan.
Speaker. Last week, my constituents Gillian Greenwell and Craig Turpey from Bathgate Turpey & Co visited Parliament and watched business questions from the gallery. But they were visiting London for the Guild Property Awards, winning silver in the UK overall award and gold in Scotland. Wow. As the state agency described this place as a period property located in a well-connected, up-and-coming community with views of iconic landmarks. Will he join me in congratulating the team at Turpey's and commend them for the contribution to the local economy, wishing them well for the future?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I certainly join my honourable friend in congratulating everyone at Turpey's on their success as at the Guild Property Awards, and I thank them for joining us for business questions last week. I hope, Madam Deputy Speaker, that they enjoyed their visit to Parliament, which, given the R&R report that I mentioned earlier, perhaps this place could also be described as a fixer-upper.
Alison Taylor.
Madam Deputy Speaker, in a challenging geopolitical world, would the Leader of the House agree with me that Scotland both contributes and benefits from the security of the United Kingdom as a whole?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I absolutely agree with my honourable friend. Scotland is fundamental to the security of the United Kingdom. We are developing the Defence Growth Deal for Scotland, which will drive innovation and deliver support to businesses, boost local employment and ensure long-term sustainable growth. But our commitment to that, Madam Deputy Speaker, and the role that Scotland plays is absolute.
Whereas, Madam Deputy Speaker, schools in some of the most geographically isolated and economically deprived communities, including from my Campbell, Redruth and Hale constituency, have found it very difficult to secure tour bookings under the new parliamentary booking system, and this also affects their ability to access the associated travel subsidy, which is essential for schools from remote coastal areas. Will the Leader commit to looking at how these tours are organised to ensure that pupils from geographically remote areas are not inadvertently excluded from visiting Parliament?
Leader.
Deputy Speaker, because the honourable gentleman raises a very important matter, one which is dear to my heart as well, given the relative distance from this place to the north east, where I have my constituency. It is important to make sure that students living in rural areas, indeed any area, do not miss out on the opportunity to visit this Parliament and understand our democratic processes. I will not only make sure that the House authorities are aware of his question, but I can tell him that the Administration Committee and indeed the Commission have asked for information about these matters to ensure that there is, as far as we can, no obstacle to young people visiting this place.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Next week will mark the first anniversary of the passing of Graham Murray, who tragically lost his life aged just 34 following a road traffic accident. Graham was a stalwart of Beckenham Rugby Club in my constituency, collecting nearly 150 caps, 2 titles and a promotion. Alongside his rugby, Graham was also a beloved friend and family man, and I know that this first anniversary will be a difficult time for many of those close to him, especially his wife Ashleen and children Tig and Croyer, and everyone at Beckenham Rugby Club. At their next home game, Beckenham will be remembering Graham with a minute's applause while some of his close friends travel to Cork to be with his family. Will the Leader of the House join me in sending condolences to Graham's family, to all those who knew him, and in commending Beckenham Rugby Club for bringing people together and for the vital role they play in our Beckenham community?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I will wholeheartedly join my honourable friend in sending our sincere thoughts to Graham Murray's family and to his loved ones. It is truly devastating to lose a loved one due to traffic accidents, and we are working hard as a government through our road safety strategy to try to reduce deaths and serious injuries on Britain's roads. But also let me pay tribute and send our best wishes and thanks to Beckenham Rugby Club for the part that they're playing in this and the fantastic role that they play in their local community.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. This coming Monday, I will be honoured to join my long-standing friend Tom Jones, who also happens to be my eldest constituent in Bexley and Crayford, for his 108th birthday celebration. Tom joined the Labour Party under the leadership of Sir Clement Attlee and supported our party under every subsequent leader. And this year will complete 92 continuous years' service of Unite the Union. Will the Leader of the House join me in wishing Tom a very happy 108th birthday and thank him for his lifetime of service to our community in the London Borough of Bexley?
Thank you very much indeed, Madam Deputy Speaker, and I'm sure the whole House will join me in wishing Tom Jones the happiest of birthdays. I'm sure he has lived an incredible life as a trade unionist and in support of our party, and we wish him well. He was doing that, Madam Deputy Speaker, before many members of this House were born, and on this rare occasion before I was born. So that is really saying something. But we do genuinely wish him all the very best and a very happy birthday.
Madam Deputy Speaker, last week I was honoured to attend the annual Apprenticeship Awards held by Rochdale's Hopwood Hall College. Awards that highlight all the brilliant local businesses we've got, but also the brilliant local talent we've got. Will you join me in congratulating 19-year-old Lily Chandler, who was Apprentice of the Year 2026, and 24-year-old Kieran Riseborough, who won the Social Mobility Award, both of whom are engineering apprentices and are a great credit to our town and to our borough.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Certainly join my honourable friend in congratulating Lily and Kieran for their well-deserved awards. It's a National Apprenticeship Week this week, but these hard-earned skills are not just for this week, they are indeed for life, which is why we backed our commitment to guarantee training, apprenticeships or help find work for all 18 to 21-year-olds with a record £3 billion apprenticeship budget. But I do wish Lily and Kieran all the very best for their working life going forward.
Martin Rhodes.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I recently hosted with my honourable friend, the member for Glasgow West, a drop-in advice surgery for people living with dementia and their carers. I was struck by the vital role of local dementia support groups, organisations such as Dementia Heroes in the West End of Glasgow. Will the Leader of the House make time available for a debate to recognise the importance of these community-led organisations?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Volunteer and community-led organisations at the heart of our local communities, and the work that they do brings so much support to those who are in need. And I join my honourable friend in thanking organisations such as Dementia Heroes in his constituency. Every week we hear from members about the work of volunteers across our country. And therefore, should he seek a debate on this matter, I'm sure it will be a popular debate.
Danny Beales.
Madam Deputy Speaker, the Post Office in Uxbridge provides vital services for my constituents, whether access to banking, government forms, to apply for passports or driving licences or general postal services, which is why residents were horrified to hear that the Post Office will close at the end of May. With no replacement in sight. And then when approving the redevelopment of the current building, the council made no provisions for a new post office or required no conditions on the developer to find a new site for a post office in the town centre. Does the Leader of the House agree with me that this simply isn't good enough? And can we make time in this place for a debate about the vital role of community postal services?
Speaker, I thank my honourable friend for this question. because this sounds like a very frustrating time for his constituents. He's absolutely right about the importance of post offices to town centres, which is why this government sets minimum access criteria. I understand that an alternative location in Uxbridge is being actively explored, but he may wish to raise this matter at DBT orals at the beginning of next month to ask the Minister for an update.
James Nash.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I wrote to the Department for Transport in December 2024, warning that the closure of Kirkhill Bridge by Network Rail for 10 months would have a devastating impact on nearby businesses. 15 months later, Dolly's, a local cafe, has closed for good. Gemma, the owner, told me that she needed £10,000 of support to get by over that 10-month period, and to the project, that would have been 0.15% of the total cost. It has closed, and as a result, we have lost a popular local business, and 3 people have lost their jobs. So would the Leader of the House agree with me that more can and should be done to recognise the unique impact of road closures on rural businesses, and will he advocate to the Department on my behalf?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. My honourable friend is a doughty campaigner for his constituents, and I'm genuinely sorry to hear of the case that he raises. He understands that road closures can have a great impact on can greatly impact local communities and businesses, particularly in rural areas. And I know that he's raised this matter with the Department of Transport, but I will absolutely ensure that he gets a response.
Final question, ever patient.
Thank you very much, Madam Deputy Speaker. On Tuesday, I joined with civic leaders in Leeds and Leeds United to celebrate the £650 million expansion of Ellen Road Stadium. Now, this is going to bring enormous benefits to my part of Leeds, including jobs and opportunities, but it will also ensure that those of us who've been on the season ticket waiting list for years are finally able to buy a ticket. But much more importantly than this, and parallel to it, the West Yorkshire Mass Transit Project has the potential to amplify and extend these benefits to all of the people of Leeds. So will the Leader of the House grant an urgent debate in government time to ensure that the Leeds tram, the Bradford tram, the West Yorkshire tram is delivered ahead of the current schedule and on budget, with stations in my constituency and others, so that all of the people of Leeds can benefit from this investment?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. As my honourable friend points out, sport is an important economic part of our local communities, which is there is a commitment to invest in such a way. And this government is committed to improving transport in the north, and I know the Transport Secretary is working closely with the West Yorkshire Mayor to ensure that we deliver a mass transport system. Should my honourable friend seek a Westminster Hall debate, I'm sure colleagues from his region may wish to join him in that, but if he seeks a request with a minister, then I will facilitate that.
That is the end of business questions. Those wishing to leave the chamber should do so now, quietly and quickly, as we'll come to the Select Committee statement shortly.